So fatigue and energy conservation. The first thing I want to do is kind of warm our brain up. So I'm gonna switch the camera over here so everybody online can see what I'm doing. But we're gonna start with a little brain teaser. So the first thing I want everybody to do is a little brain teaser that we've done probably when we were younger too, but pat your head and rub your tummy. Okay, can we switch them? Pat your head, rub your tummy with your opposite. Everybody got it? I saw some people patting tummies here. I don't know about online. Switch them one more time. Good, and one more switch. Good, I got a couple more of those. The next one we're gonna do is right hand fist, left hand flat. Switch those. This one should be a little bit easier. Fist and then flat. Everybody got this one. Okay, our next one's a little bit harder. I want you to point one hand, thumbs up with the other. So you'll point and thumbs up, switch that one over. I always end up like this, but we want just the pointer finger up, just the thumb up. This one's more challenging. I don't know how you guys online are doing. I can't see everybody, but. It's just a kind of fun one to get your brain moving. But now we can kind of move into a little bit of what fatigue is. So fatigue, especially within the Parkinson's population, is not the same as a sleepiness or general lack of motivation. It's a feeling of complete exhaustion. Even after you rest, you can often still feel fatigued. There's two forms. There's physiological and pathological. And pathological has two more subsettings. This pathological fatigue is what a lot of us experience with Parkinson's. It's more common in Parkinson's. So there's physical fatigue, which is feeling deeply tired, maybe weary, and it can worsen or fluctuate, so go up and down. This is when you really want to do the task, you have the motivation to do it, but you just physically can't. And then there's mental fatigue, and that is what makes it difficult to concentrate during tasks that you'd normally be able to do. Anything that requires a sustained effort. And these fatigues can kind of interchange with each other, but it usually is lasting more than 3 months for it to be considered fatigue. So let's talk a little bit more about fatigue and Parkinson's and how those interact. Fatigue due to akinesia is, akinesia means trouble starting movement. So that can often be a very fatiguing thing for us, both mentally and physically, because we're telling our brain over and over, go, 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 and that muscle's just not firing. Muscle fatigue, which includes stiffness, cramping, tremor, and difficulty initiating. So again, some of that freezing and fascinating of gait. Mobility fluctuations, which can kind of ebb and flow throughout our day, depending on when we're taking medications. Depression, which is really common in Parkinson's. About 40% of people with Parkinson's are experiencing depression, and that can contribute to fatigue. Sleep disturbance. We talked about sleep disturbance a lot in the last workshop. It can lead to excessive daytime sleepiness, things like that. And then different medications, whether this is your Parkinson's medications or other medications that you take for various things, they can contribute to this. So let's talk a little bit about some therapies for fatigue. All of my own research found that they really need to do more research on this in general. With Parkinson's disease specifically, there's not a ton of like, this is the exact right answer that will solve everything, which is not much with anything. But there are some things that you can bring to your doctor to talk about, like treating other symptoms that can be impacting you, like sleep disturbances, depression, things like that, if those are impacting your fatigue. How certain medications, vitamins, or supplements may interact. So Vitamins B and D are common deficiencies in people who are having fatigue. And then any nutritional deficiencies, again, with vitamins B and D, if you have anemia, things like that. There are no medications that are proven effective against fatigue on their own. Go ahead.
You said B and D.
B as in Blake and B as in dog. Yes. Like I said, there's no medications that are proven effective for fatigue on its own, but there are other pharmacological therapies that might be helpful, that if you'd like to talk with me more about that outside of this presentation, I can give you some things that you might want to talk to your doctor about, but they're not all appropriate for everyone, so we won't be discussing it here. Some just general fatigue management tips and tricks. Having a healthy diet, keeping hydrated and exercising. I know fatigue can make it hard to start exercising, but exercise releases endorphins, helps keep us more energetic afterwards. Exercise can help us build stamina. With your sleep schedule, this could include short naps after lunch. Like I said in the seminar, try not to sleep after 3 p.m. But getting your sleep together can definitely help with daytime fatigue. Having social connection can help also boost endorphins, similar to exercise. Thankfully, we get a lot of that here, but if you're not able to be here in person a lot, finding a way to get that outside of the PEWC can be good too. Planning your day. So this means thinking about your day or week ahead of time and being able to space out your activities. So if I know I'm going to come to the wellness center on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I might not schedule a bunch of other activities on those days too, because it will wear me out faster. So things like doctor's appointments, if you're not an everyday shower, if you're a once or twice a week shower, just planning those out so that you're not completing a bunch of large tasks all on one day. And then you can prioritize by either urgency. There's some things that you have to get done within your day, or like I said, how much effort it's going to take. So showering takes a big chunk of time, getting out of the house to go grocery shopping, different things like that. Making sure you delegate when possible is a pretty self-explained one. This is just a normal aging tip, but as we get older, being able to share more tasks, either by outsourcing it to people outside your home, having somebody come to cut your grass, or within your care team, whatever you guys find that works. Working efficiently includes gathering all your supplies before you start a task so that you're not up and down, keeping a lot of commonly used items near you, things like that might seem common sense, but sometimes it helps to have a reminder. Positioning yourself comfortably and correctly. This includes having good posture is really important with fatigue. When we have good posture, we're allowing our lungs to fill completely, and that helps our muscles stay nice and healthy, and get the nutrients that we need to our body. And then using good body mechanics. This is things like pushing or pulling instead of lifting, carrying objects close to your body rather than far out, doing things that we can to conserve our energy, lifting with our legs rather than our back, and standing close to the objects that we're moving. So, do we have any questions over all that information I just threw at you guys? And online, if you guys have a question too, you can unmute yourself as well.
I've diagnosed some fatigue severe, my doctor had this week, but I think right now I'm fine. I have a question. It's just moving the line behind it. And when I feel I never use bicycle for 45 minutes, very problems. And then I get back up, but I was just pushing myself to become
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, so you're experiencing, like if you're biking for a long amount of time, you're experiencing fatigue?
But I used to work at 5 times, not no fatigue in the back. Other
Okay.
than that, and I warm up, I really warm up.
Yeah, yeah, and different types of exercise will give you varying levels of fatigue just because your output is different. So riding the bike versus completing a rock steady class, you're probably gonna have different levels of fatigue after that.
I think it's important to recognize, the fatigue that keeps you from initiating exercise. Ron, you just kind of made a point that, pretty much any other time of the day, you have a hard time initiating movement or exercise, but you can get here and do class. You can get here.
Not too frustrating between here and sitting at home. I used to cut my grass.
Right.
I couldn't push someone.
Right.
So, kind of situation.
Okay.
But here, I think it's similar. If I need to physical activity.
Okay. Okay. How many of you feel better if you're able to get here? Like you maybe wake up in the morning, you're like, no way, no how. I am way too tired today, it's not happening. And then either you motivate yourself, self-motivation, or you get brought here by someone. But then you get going, you're like, oh, there it is. Okay, I feel a little bit more energetic now.
I think plus reserving your classes, like a week in advance.
So having some accountability. Okay, Laura.
I consider fatigue for Parkinson's different from tiring out from exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired in the class, I can sit down and rest, and I'm ready, but when I have fatigue, I don't have any exercise, yes,
Okay.
but I just felt like this
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't related to any physical activity.
Right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I meant with like pacing yourself, and that is to get through those days when you feel like bleh, like there's still some things that you may or may not have to get done. So figuring out what those things that you need to prioritize are and getting those done. But it's not just from, oh, I exercised and now I'm tired. Fatigue is a whole body, whole mind experience.
I also think that apathy plays a part. Because I suffer from apathy and that's nice. I mean, you said, it needs to be done, you have motivation, you don't feel like it. I knew it had to be done, I had the motivation, but it felt like it, but still wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that big long list of all the different ways that fatigue works itself in. It can be medication induced, it can be hydration or nutrition induced, it can be nutritional deficiency induced, it can be lack of sleep induced. All of those layers could all come together all at one time. It's like, how in the world do I pull myself out of that? Or you can experience a couple of those layers on any given day at any given time of the day, and then other days not. So it's very complex, very complex. Yeah. So the fact that you guys show up here as regularly as you do and you push through those challenges is truly remarkable.
Does anybody online have any thoughts, questions, anything like that?
Well, this is Jay. I'm curious if people
Well, I think
have.
Jay's saying something. Hold on, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe. Let me stop my share here. Okay, Jay, try one more time.
Yeah, I was just curious if people have problems concentrating when they go to.
Sorry, Jay, we still can't hear you. Give me a second.
I'm okay. I unmuted myself. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, technical difficulties here.
Okay.
Cheese box. Got your Cheez-Its over there too?
Doritos.
Oh, Doritos.
And my PB&J, also like my high school lunch.
Extend my display.
It's on the list.
There, it came back. Okay, try it one more time, Jay.
Well, can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3.
We should be hearing him.
No?
Wonder if- Okay, one more time, Jay, sorry.
Okay, and it's not anything that's that urgent, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious if others have problems when they go to a meeting or something like this and not have a problem dozing or nodding off. It doesn't matter how much what I do. It seems like I always have a problem with that. It's embarrassing. I mean, at church, you can sit there and you go, oh, I just nodded off, you know, and it's not because the pastor doesn't have an interesting sermon. It's just that, you know, you're fighting that. I actually went and talked to my pastor about it, but I'm just curious, anybody else has problems like that, and how do you deal with it? And how do you, you know, get yourself into a better state of mind, I guess. Hearing no clamor of problems, I guess that's my own problem.
Anybody else have problems with when you sit down, you tend to fall asleep?
I like that as possible.
That's the way you deal with it? You try to catch it as quickly as possible?
John's advice was to try and wake up as soon as possible.
So you're not the last one left in the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like some excessive daytime sleepiness going on there too. So you might mention that to your doc.
Well, my wife looked over my medications, and one of them did clearly state that it would cause drowsiness, and so we kind of changed when that medication was being administered, and then that did help some.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Take it later in the day, in other words, instead of first thing in the morning.
I don't necessarily get tired, but I get very, very distracted. So if I'll start thinking about something else, and then maybe stop paying attention, and then maybe that will cause me to get tired. So I found that if I'm like keeping my mind active, doing something else that's not distracting, like doodling, like while I'm having a conversation, which some people might do through it, but if you explain to them like, hey, this is just so I can pay attention and make sure I'm engaged. Like keep your brain engaged while doodling. That's what I do. And Teresa, I know you do that too. Or like if you need to stand up to give yourself some energy for a second and sit back down, that's also something that can be helpful too.
Are you guys hearing her online?
I could not hear. I could hear she was talking, but I could not.
That's okay. That's why I asked. So that was Sam, and she was saying sometimes it helps her if she will do a dual task. So something like doodling, or she'll stand up, or something else to kind of keep her mind and body active.
Okay.
I think another thing too, when we tend to have poor posture when we're seated, you know, poor posture or slouched posture can lead to less airflow. So your breathing becomes more shallow, blood flow to your brain. So your brain gets kind of foggy. So, you know, if you're not in a position where you can stand up, sliding to the edge of your seat and sitting up tall and, you know, lessening the support that your chair is giving you can also kind of wake up the brain and refresh. You might find yourself yawning, which can look rude, but it means that your body is saying, I need some air. So, you know, those are some tricks if you can't necessarily stand up and make yourself more alert that way, giving yourself the opportunity to sit up straight, bring that posture and airflow back to your brain.
I started riding a bike for 5 or 10 minutes before I leave to go somewhere.
Get those endorphins going.
And yeah, it's kind of, a little bit, it's too much time because, you know, I don't want to
Yeah.
get a lot of sleep. Just a few minutes on, just seems to get the legs going.
Another suggestion was to ride a bike if you have one, or maybe take a short walk before you go somewhere to kind of get those body systems awake, get your blood pumping, those types of things. So, any other questions regarding fatigue? Oh. Yep. So, I had a chat that there's some medications that can be prescribed, which is true. That is not within the occupational therapy scope of practice, so I don't talk a lot about that here. But if that is something that you're interested in, we can talk more privately about that, and I can get you in contact with some questions you could ask your doctor and things like that. Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, I will go ahead and we'll kind of transition over into talking about stress and stress relief a little bit. So let me share my screen here. Does this every time? It like will go on here, but then. Alrighty, perfect. So I would love for people, you can just share a few words. I know that we're all here, everybody here is impacted by stress, but what are some like common things that you feel like stress is impacting your life with?
I think sometimes it's feeling overwhelmed.
Feeling overwhelmed. Mhm.
Especially less able to make decisions I need to make.
Yeah, feeling less able to make decisions that you need to. Okay.
I would say I also overthinking things,
Overthinking of things.
trying to think way so far ahead.
Yeah. Yep. Thinking too far ahead and then things can get overwhelming. I thank you for sharing. I just wanted people to share to kind of realize that you all might be having some similar experiences with stress. And we're going to talk a little bit more during this about how stress impacts you. So stress is a fundamental cause of disease in our bodies. The research says that over and over, whether you have Parkinson's or don't. Stress has a lot of impacts on a bunch of different processes of our body. So there's physical impacts of stress, which can be things like headache, muscle tension, stomach issues, sleep disturbances. With our mood, it can cause an increase in anxiety, a lack of motivation, irritability. And then as far as behaviorally, this can lead to over or under eating, over or under drinking, social withdrawal, poor judgment, overreacting. And overall, unchecked stress can also lead to lower immune system and autonomic nerve regulation. So that's how our body systems are organized. So things like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, obesity can all be impacts of stress. Did you have a question, Laura?
I just had a statement.
Uh-huh.
I should have said it when you were asking.
No, that's okay.
Nobody else said it either. Everybody with Parkinson's knows that stress will immediately cause yes.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody with Parkinson's that didn't have a problem.
Yeah. Laura mentioned that when she's feeling increased stress, she feels that her symptoms are exacerbated. So. So we can't talk about stress without talking about what anxiety is. It's excessive concern with the anticipation of future threat, and anxiety is constant. It's not something that you're feeling. Sometimes you can feel it a little more, a little less, but there's always anxious thoughts there. Up to 40% of people with Parkinson's experience anxiety. And it's very personalized. So the most common types for Parkinson's are generalized anxiety disorder, which is often called GAD if you see it abbreviated like that. And that is just being nervous most of the time, having a chronic worry before you leave the house, when you're away at places, when you're at home even. Panic attacks are also common in Parkinson's disease, and this is episodes of feeling extreme doom, feeling like you might die, shortness of breath, chest tightness, tingling in your muscles, tinglings in your lips, fingers, feeling like you can't breathe. And then there's just a general social phobia, which is more of fear of being in like a social group, social interactions, things like that. And these are the most common types in Parkinson's. There's different presentations. So there's the cognitive, which is like your head feeling like you're going to lose control. Physiologic, which is things like heart palpitations, shortness of breath, increase in blood pressure. Emotional impacts like derealization, which is like removing yourself from your body. Or behavioral things like trembling or shaking, feeling dizzy or faint. And these all have physical health consequences that can exacerbate your Parkinson's presentation. So just what Laura said, when you're having anxiety, you're often going to be having heightened symptoms of your Parkinson's. So let's talk a little bit about some treatment options for anxiety. There is medication for anxiety, and I would really recommend, if you feel like you're experiencing any of the types of anxiety, talking with your doctor about that. I know this is across with or without Parkinson's disease. Anxiety is very common in our population. Another common option that you could talk with your doctor about would be cognitive behavioral therapy, which is from a licensed therapist, a social worker. And what CBT does is it involves learning about breathing techniques, progressive muscle relaxation, and other techniques that you can use in your daily life. And then other things that you will hear often are things like increasing exercise, implementing breathing exercises and meditation, massage therapy. I listened to a really great podcast about anxiety with Parkinson's, and one of the main things that the doctor that was speaking on that said, leave your own self-criticisms and self-judgments at the door, especially when you take into account how many of people with Parkinson's experience it. You're not alone, and you're not weird, or you know, it's not uncommon to experience that. So own it, figure out how to get it under control, and try different options. Don't think that just because you tried one thing, you're doomed forever if it didn't work. And then just for general stress relief, things like getting active, which we talked about during fatigue management too, but physical activity releases feel-good endorphins. It can help you improve your general movements, which can make you less anxious about falling. Meditation can include focusing attention on something other than your thoughts and bring a sense of calm. So these are things like guided imagery, guided meditations, visualizations, deep breathing. That's something that you can learn a lot more about in cognitive behavioral therapy, if that's something that you're interested in. Tai Chi is another really common thing. It's a movement-based meditation, which it focuses on life's energy force and continuous movements that flow and can help improve your breathing and calm you down. Laughter and connection. There are studies proving that laughter lightens your mental load. Even if it starts as fake laughter, it can still improve your mood. It's pretty cool, actually. It cools down your stress response, basically. And that social connection can offer a distraction, provide support, things like that. Sleep. Like we talked about in our last presentation, sleep allows our brain and body to recharge. It can impact your mood, your energy levels, your concentration, and your overall function. Journaling is another thing that is kind of included with cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a piece of it. It can be a good release of emotions. You can toss it away after you write your feelings down, or you can save it and use that to kind of process things. And then to get creative and explore your interests, things like music can provide a mental distraction, reduce muscle tension, decrease stress hormones. Exploring other interests, whether they're indoors or outdoors, can help do the same thing. Things like gardening, sketching, sewing, golf, whatever your hobbies are, spending time doing that can usually help relieve stress. And then I just had to throw it in here that boxing can help reduce stress. It combines a lot of these things. So, yeah.
I can't read the reference.
Oh, the Mayo Clinic staff is for all of them, but the boxing was my own personal flair, I won't lie. So is there, I'll take a pause here. Does anybody have any questions that they would like answered or anything right now? And I'm looking online, not seeing any online. So I would really like to take time to kind of practice deep breathing exercise. Deep breathing came up over and over and over with people with Parkinson's and just in general as a main way to reduce stress. It changes the heartbeat and activates our autonomic nervous system. Our autonomic nervous system is what controls all of our internal organs. But it does that by increasing oxygen supply to the body. Everything runs on oxygen. So I am actually going to do this one because I think that it would be good for people to get to stand up a little bit. You can always do this from seated if you're here or at home. If you're more comfortable, that's fine. But if you are comfortable standing, I'll have everybody go ahead and stand up. Okay. And then if you're seated, that's fine. If you're standing, go ahead and bend forward at the waist with your knees slightly bent. This will probably feel a little bit of a stretch there on the back of the legs here, but let your arms dangle close to the floor. As you inhale, slowly and deeply, I'll have you return to a standing position, rolling up one vertebra at a time. Inhale as you stand. We're going to hold our breath here for a few seconds and then exhale slowly as we return. Inhale coming up. And exhale down. And one last time coming up. Good. So this is something that it's pretty easy to implement into your daily life if you're feeling stressed. There's tons and tons and tons of breathing exercises, guided imageries, things like that you can find online. Or if you come to me, I will get you the hook up with some. I've had several people that I've got guided imageries prepared for. I've done some breathing exercises with some people. So I kind of already have that in my library. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I'll let you guys go ahead and sit down. Do we have any other questions or anything? I can stop my share here and let people online. No questions?
I have a question for the group. When you showed up today for the anxiety and stress relief seminar, what information were you hoping to get? Was it a solution to your stress and anxiety? Was it an answer to how not to be fatigued? Was it just to gather more information and have more tools in your toolkit, or what are you, or what were you hoping for, and did you find it?
Well, there's not a cure, an instant cure out there. I wasn't expecting that, because it doesn't exist, right? But gathering more information about it, kind of piece things together, working with the doctor, come up with some basic anxiety in particular.
Okay.
So, stop life, and you just pure panic mode. So medication takes care of it, but I don't want to take as much medication as I'm already taking.
So you may have a conversation with Blake at a different time to do some of those mental imagery or breathing techniques, or things that in the moment, in an acute stage of anxiety, that you can take control, use some of those tools to help bring you back down so that you can move into a better space.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just hoping to gather more information. It seems like I have 20 years of tools to deal with stress, in the last 2 years they've all come in. I don't know why.
If you've forgotten how to use them,
No,
or they're not
it's
working
stress.
anymore. Okay, different,
On top of it.
okay. So you might need some new, fresh tools.
Yeah.
Or a refresher of how to use those tools effectively.
I think the pandemic went through a big time. You know, and just kind of like that overwhelming feeling and just trying to, you know, make the best choices. You know, one thing that helped us was our daughter, who's a nurse, told us to rise the pandemic started. She said, you need to get a thermometer, and you need to check your temperature, you need to get an oximeter. And she said, that way you can just kind of check yourself. And that really helped a lot, because I would find that if I was doing deep breathing, the oxygen level really helped. I mean, what could be negatives into positives. We have a house that has stairs going down to a finished basement and stairs going upstairs, and I'm thinking, great, my doctor said, stairs are the best thing for you. I want to see you work those stairs. And it really kind of helped me change my whole attitude. And so I'm up and down, and stretching, and doing things. And I feel like, you know, I kind of conquered that.
Awesome.
Mine was to get some general information. I've done a lot of these things before I had a diagnosis. And now I'm looking at an after diagnosis and seeing different to me, and I need to work with them to see, to
Like to find out which strategies might work for you now that hadn't before, or vice versa.
yeah.
Seeing who's here and what they're going through. Some of our, at least for me, some of the most beneficial time was out on the floor. You know, Parkinson, you just talking about what you're going through, and they say, well, I tried this, and you know, maybe you try it too. So that's kind of a, you know, encouraging thing to see that you're not the only one that's dealing with something.
Because you're with a group that's, everybody's, you know, having a lot of similar things, so willing and welcome to share. That's important.
I always think, I remember hearing in a parenting talk when my kids were young enough to be parented. You know, sometimes we expect our kids to understand what we're, you know, hey, can you go get me, you know, the slotted spoon from the kitchen, you know, I need it right away. And the kid runs to the kitchen and they have no idea what a slotted spoon is. They don't know what that word is. They don't know where to find it. They don't know what you're going to use it for. So there's no connections to what it is that I'm asking them to do. And I think sometimes the more knowledge that we have, okay, I'm feeling this feeling, I don't know what it's called. So you have no way to figure out how to approach it. So if you can start to get some words for it, okay, I'm having anxiety. I know what that feels like. I'm not having a heart attack, so I can check that box, okay? This might be a panic attack because I'm feeling all these sensations that we just talked about in that seminar. okay, she said that maybe breathing might help me manage this. I'm going to try taking some deep breaths. So all of a sudden you have knowledge, you have experience, and you have some ideas and suggestions of how you can manage those situations. So that the next time when I tell my kid that I was very frustrated, why aren't you back here yet? I don't have that spoon, I need it. And they're standing in the kitchen going, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no relation to what you're asking me to do. Your body's showing these symptoms or these experiences, and you can go back and you can adequately address them with a little bit more information than what you had before, and maybe have some success so that the next time you have more success. And pretty soon, you may not ever not have anxiety, or you may not ever fully be cured of a panic attack or waking up, you know, in cold sweats, having anxiety, but you may not ever have to be stuck in that place in such a way that it keeps you from sleeping the rest of the night, or it keeps you from going to class the next day because you have tools to manage it. So that's always the goal here, is to have some of our very capable and educated students give you guys more tools than what you had.
I'm gonna say it's been helpful from the other side, because I had no idea that some of the things related to Parkinson's were,
Mm-hmm.
I knew the tremors, knew the just general, but I didn't know anxiety and stress and fatigue and all of that were actually part of it.
Symptoms,
So
right?
it's like,
Right,
when,
right.
so creating some understanding.
Yeah, good. Did anybody else? I don't see, are there hands raised online?
I don't see anybody online. Does anybody, actually, Jay just unmuted. I don't know if he has something to say. I'm not connected to them.
Well, I was going to share something, I guess. I was going to just share that, you know, for me, when I have
Give us a second, Jay. Sorry.
oh, okay.
Go through this again.
Hey, since you guys are here, you guys are gonna see this in your email tonight. There has just been an increase in car vandalism, robberies, smash and grabs, auto thefts even, in this area, which makes sense because there's a ton of churches, fitness centers, and shopping centers. So when you're here, don't leave anything in sight that someone might think is valuable, that they might be willing to smash a window and grab it. Leave your car locked. Don't leave your purse in a visible spot. Don't even leave a backpack, because people just don't know what's in there, so they might be willing to do that. And that's just good practice, generally speaking, but even more so now. And be aware, have situational awareness. You come out, there's a guy standing against the pole over there that's been there for an hour just smoking cigarettes. Probably come in and tell us, because they don't have any business standing there. Like these guys, I'm watching them and I know what they're doing, but I'm watching them.
Go ahead, Jay.
They're working on the servers downstairs.
I guess I was just going to share the, when I get anxious about things, my defense mechanism is to remove myself from the situation. I mean, it can be something like on the news last night, there was an African-American lady on there that just lost her daughter through a shooting, and the baby was injured. I can't handle that. I have to leave the room. Yeah, and most of you see me as, you know, I've been introduced as the tough wrestling coach, but I can't handle that kind of I empathize, I have empathy for that person, and I put myself in that position, and it's hard to believe that people live like they do, and they can survive. So I just have to get up and leave. That can be a news report.
Right, which could very well translate to COVID. I mean, you know, those who are watching the news every day, we're hearing death tolls and hearing these awful stories, and the warnings, and you know, everything that was a barrage of stress-inducing, isolating, terrible, horrifying things were coming at us for a year. And then, you know, now we're into year 2 and, you know, now crime is up and, you know, possible war in the Ukraine and Russia, like it is not going to get better here in this world. We already know that. But how do you manage those things? And if you need to, like Jay, remove yourself from it. I don't watch the news ever. And sometimes that comes up in conversation. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. People look at me like, well, you're living under a rock. I'm like, yeah, it's very peacefully. And I'm okay with that. You know, and I remember during COVID, I asked you guys, please shut off your, like, give yourself a day where you do not put stress-inducing, debilitating, mind-bending information in your ears. Because at the end of the day, you're in your home with your loved one, you are safe, you're healthy, and that is what you can be thankful for. So, you know, Jay, I appreciate that, sharing that, and your vulnerability in sharing that.
Any last thoughts?
I just need somebody to remind me to hydrate.
Yeah, you do.
I need a couple of exercises ago, ended up laying on the bathroom floor and thinking, damn, all I needed to do was drink a glass of water.
But you got there the right way though. At least you were controlled going down. So you stopped yourself soon enough.
Doesn't take much to get dehydrated. I've been talking a lot more about this, and this might be something, I don't know, it's not probably OT scope, but you know, if you do drink a lot of water, if you're like, I drink a ton of water and I'm still having all these dizziness issues, you could be deficient in your electrolytes. Like you could actually be flushing your medication, sometimes flushes your electrolyte components. So you can be deficient already, and then you're pushing water through and you're almost overhydrating, you know, the wrong way. So you can have that dizziness, you can have muscle cramps, you can have all the symptoms of dehydration because you're low in electrolytes. So there's electrolyte powders that you can pour right in your water. They can boost those right back up. Low blood pressure can be raised with those electrolytes. So, you know, if you feel like you're doing the right things and drinking plenty of water and you're still having those issues, that might be the next thing.
Yeah.
Try it.
That's not his issue. His issue is the low water, is what Ron is saying. But yeah, that is true in some cases, or it could be something else also. So yeah.
We've been talking about medication, and I personally, that you have to take the medication correctly, or you can have some problems with it. But don't go online and read this, and this is cause of this medication, because there might be something different than talk to your doctor about it.
Yep.
Yeah. And it affects your memory.
Jude was saying to make sure that you're checking with your doctor, not just assuming that things are okay because it might be a side effect of a medication.
Well, not only that, if you read them, that this is, one person had this reaction to the medication, might not have been the medication cause that reaction when they're doing the test. But they have to say that that was one of the effects. They have to, because it says. So you just be careful with how you take the medication and what you're looking at, what you talking about medication.
Yeah. Definitely true. Okay. If there's no more stress fatigue questions for right now, you guys can always come to me between classes, come to me during class, email me, whatever. I'm here for you guys for 6 more weeks at least. But if anybody is wanting any grounding techniques, any more information on stress and anxiety, I'm here for you guys, but I want to thank everybody for showing up in person and online. I really appreciate it. If you're here in person, please fill out one of my little post surveys. I'm doing that for school to track if these are helpful or if they're not helpful, what I could change to make them better. And if you're on person, please feel free, or wow, if you're online, please feel free to grab one of these